KOAT, Action 7 News live at 10. Breaking news is happening now.
And that breaking news, a person hit and killed in front of the pit just as the Lobos basketball game was ending. The fans are gone, but police are just getting started.
Action 7 News reporter Matt Howardson is there live with the latest. Matt.
Yeah, Royal Doug, APD told us that it's just beginning its investigation here. So far, all we know is that a pedestrian was struck by a car here just before the Lobos basketball game ended. That person was rushed to the hospital where they eventually died. Police haven't told us if the driver in this incident is being treated as a suspect. They also haven't told us if the person killed was a fan coming from the game or not. Now, clearly, as police continue to investigate this is a full motors call out, which means they'll be here for probably the next couple of hours. All of eastbound Avenida Cesar Chavez for this stretch is closed. So if you're heading this way, you might want to avoid this area as police continue to investigate. Back to you in the studio.
And we just learned there was a second accident that killed a pedestrian tonight. That was at 12th and Indian School. APD says the person was hit and then died at the hospital around 6. Police do not think alcohol played a role, and while they are still trying to figure out exactly what happened, they say the driver is not being charged at this point.
Hands up. Get your hands up. Hands up! I got you, officer.
For the first time, we're seeing video of the night an Albuquerque police officer was shot and killed. A judge released that body camera footage, surveillance footage, and helicopter video from 2015. Action 7 News reporter Megan Cruz shows you what it reveals in a high-profile murder case.
October 2015, officers on the rooftops and in the alleyways of this Albuquerque neighborhood near Central and Eubank. It's a manhunt for this guy, Devon Lyman. Just hours earlier, Albuquerque police say Lyman shot one of their own.
Get your hands up. Hands up!
Officer Daniel Webster pulled Lyman over for driving a motorcycle with stolen plates. Webster gets one handcuff on, but not the other. You hear Lyman struggle, claiming Webster is hurting him.
I'm trying to help you out, sir. Well, you need to do it quick. Sir, okay, but no, we got to move this arm this way. This arm this way. Ow, ow, ow.
That's when Webster calls for backup.
He's going to step it up. He's wanting a 32.
But before officers get there, you hear 6 gunshots. Walgreens surveillance video shows Webster at the top of your screen, running away. Hours later, while Webster fights for his life in the hospital, APD helicopter video shows officers finally arresting Lyman. They found him hiding in a shed. While in custody, Lyman apologizes for the shooting.
If you see that person, guy's family, tell him I'm so sorry. Please. I honestly don't know what happened. Don't remember it.
Webster died a week later. Earlier this month, the state charged Lyman with murder for Webster's death. He's already been convicted of a separate federal charge. As a felon, Lyman was not supposed to have a gun that night. Back to you.
There is a permanent memorial at one of the spots you saw in that video. APD unveiled the plaque in April with his end of watch date, October 29th, 2015. It is outside the Walgreens where Webster was shot near Central and Eubank.
Tomorrow morning, loved ones will say a final goodbye to a 10-year-old girl killed in a suspected drag racing accident. According to the criminal complaint, Albuquerque police say Xavier Nelson was racing another car Friday night when he slammed into a family's van. Carmen Esmeralda Rivera Narvaez was killed. She went to Lava Land Elementary, which is offering counselors for grieving students.
You're going to tell me, Grandpa, that my friend died or whatever.
It's devastating, and I feel for that poor mother.
Esme's funeral is tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Casa de Oracion in Los Lunes.
A tentative retrial date is set for former Albuquerque police officers Keith Sandy and Dominic Perez. If the new district attorney decides to pursue the case again, they could face a new jury in July. We're also learning the special prosecutor offered those officers a plea deal so they could avoid a retrial. And that's not the only new development. Action 7 News reporter Kirsten Swanson is live at courthouse.
Well, Doug, McGinn told court today that her office is investigating new evidence. So I went ahead and asked our KOAT legal expert if this new development could shake up this high-profile case.
New information today in the James Boyd murder case where former Albuquerque police officers Keith Sandy and Dominic Perez wait to see if they'll have to stand trial all over again. Remember in October, the jury deadlocked during deliberations and the court declared a mistrial. Special prosecutor Randy McGinn says she's still working on the case.
I will tell the court, too, there's additional investigation ongoing now from things that we learned after the trial.
McGinn indicated that it has to do with Sandy's body camera, which is believed to have malfunctioned the day Boyd was killed in 2014. 2014.
The prosecution's going to have a real strong belief in their case to want to go through this again.
But even though McGinn didn't elaborate on what that new information is, KOAT's legal expert John Day doesn't think it could have too big of an impact.
That evidence has got to be pretty bombshell. That's got to be pretty explosive to make much of a difference.
Day says that might be why McGinn reportedly offered a plea deal to Keith Sandy. Sandy's attorney tells us last week McGinn gave Sandy the chance to plead guilty to a charge of conspiracy to commit aggravated battery. He'd avoid jail time, and all the charges against both him and Perez would be dropped. Sandy said no.
The fact that the defense has rejected it out of hand tells you how strongly and how much faith they have in their own case.
Day says at this point it's like a poker game. Both sides have shown their hands and are waiting to see who makes the next move.
And that next move could come as soon as January, when the new district attorney Raul Torres takes office on January 1st. He told us in a statement today that he's going to have a team of independent prosecutors review all of the evidence and then recommend whether or not he move forward with that retrial. At District Court tonight, I'm Kirsten Swanson, KOAT Action 7 News.
And Keith Sandy's attorney says the possibility of a retrial is upsetting.
And this is about two men in there, two police officers who've done a hell of a lot for this community. Now with these charges continuing to hang over them.
Attorneys for both defendants tried to get the charges dismissed today, but the judge ruled against it, saying it would be a waste of time and money if the DA does decide to try the case again. Another high-profile retrial has also been set. Former Santa Fe County Deputy Ty Chan is scheduled to go back to court in May on murder charges. He's accused of shooting and killing another deputy after a drunken fight at a hotel in Las Cruces in 2014. But just like the Boyd trial, this one ended in a hung jury.
It sure won't feel like fall tomorrow, Joe. It's going to be unusually warm again.
Again, that's right, World. In fact, right now, line that in my live Super Doppler 7 forecast.
Today, a lot of people had trouble getting their new Real ID driver's licenses because they didn't know they needed to bring extra documents. The MVD now requires you to prove your Social Security number, which means bringing in the actual card or a W-2. You'll also need a proof of identity like a birth certificate or passport. And finally, you will need to bring 2 proofs of residency, like a utility bill and a bank statement. These changes are meant to make Real IDs more secure, but a lot of you are still frustrated.
This is how hard it is to get your driver's license? This is ridiculous.
I spent 4 hours and 4 trips home, back and forth, with a new piece of paperwork every time.
Remember, you only need one of these new Real ID licenses if yours expires or by October 2020, whichever comes first. And we have a list of all the acceptable documents you'll need at KOAT.com under this story.
Well, businesses say too many customers are avoiding them because of art construction. So, could cheaper prices change their mind? Action 7 News reporter Matt Howerton spoke to a city councilor who wants to waive sales taxes along Central. But he admits it's not going to be easy.
It's no secret. Art construction is dealing a blow to some businesses along Central Avenue. But one city councilor wants to give those shops a shot in the arm.
We've got to do whatever we can in this community, in this city, to try to help our local business merchants along the Central Corridor.
Ken Sanchez is working with the state's Tax and Revenue Department to see if it's possible for affected businesses to stop collecting gross receipts taxes until construction is completed. It's sort of a very long tax-free weekend designed to give customers more incentive to come out.
I think it would do all of us wonders.
Ken Ashley, owner of the grain station, is on board.
I'm all for it. Yeah, anything to help us out, right? It's appreciated.
So do a lot of others we spoke to, but Sanchez admits it won't be easy. That's because when you pay a tax on your purchase, it's split among the city, county, and state. Albuquerque and Bernalillo County leaders would have to agree to waive their portions of the tax, and for the state's part, it would have to go through the legislature and the governor, all of which would stand to lose quite a bit of money. Sanchez also says he's still huddling with attorneys to see if a move like this would even be legally sound. But still, he's optimistic.
Again, we face legal challenges and legal hurdles, but I think this would be one way to encourage people to go down and shop in a tax-free zone.
Matt Howerton, KOAT, Action 7 News.
Another idea to help businesses is to waive some city bus fees to the area. Tonight, a committee approved a plan to allow free rides Friday night through Sunday until construction is done. It now goes to the full council. Councilors also discussed hiring retired officers to help with the shortage in the police department. They would only focus on property crimes like burglaries and other thefts, so the rest of the department can handle more urgent issues. If it passes, they'll try it out on a limited basis, then decide whether or not to make it permanent.
If you hear explosions near Kirtland Air Force Base tomorrow, don't worry, it's only a drill. Starting at 10 a.m., Sandia National Lab says it will do a controlled explosives test south of the base. You might hear some loud blasts or see black smoke and dust. It's expected to end by 1 p.m. Sandia says this experiment supports national security missions.
City leaders are working to clear up any confusion about parking in your own front yard. Technically, it's illegal after an ordinance passed in 2007. But lawyers say some people have been allowed to do it anyway because the city's been interpreting the rule wrong for years. Some residents tell us they simply think their cars are safer off of the street.
Yes, I agree. It's an eyesore. I really do. But it's better to be an eyesore than have your vehicles damaged.
Well, city leaders are working to change the ordinance so it's finally clear about who can and can't park in their front yard. But we don't know what sort of changes that might include.
Do you know what you're really touching at an ATM or the gas pump? Tonight, we test them in a lab.
That's probably the most disgusting sample we've looked at today.
See the living things lurking on card machines.
And meet Team Trump, who your future president is choosing to help him lead the country, and why one of his choices is making protesters even angrier.
And Albuquerque police investigating a crash right now where a person was hit and killed right in front of the pit at UNM. We do not know who the victim is, and we're also trying to figure out if the driver fled or stuck around. We'll keep you posted.
You're watching KOAT Action 7 News live at 10.
Whether it's the gas pump or an ATM, you probably touch a card machine every day, not realizing just how dirty it is.
Action 7 News reporter Megan Cruz put those machines to the test at a lab, and tonight she exposes which germs you're exposed to when you pay with plastic.
Here's a prime example of what we've got. So it's
Oh my gosh. You are looking at petri dishes full of germs found on all kinds of card machines around Albuquerque. We swabbed the keypads of about a dozen ATMs, the keypads at gas pumps.
Hard to swab, they're tiny.
Finally, the keypads inside popular stores.
Thank you for shopping with us.
We then brought our samples to Quest Diagnostics. What microbiologist John Golobic found growing on those surfaces...
Oh, that's gross.
...might gross you out, too.
This is an ATM.
Golobic says while most of these germs are harmless, there was bacteria in there
This is from a gas station
that could cause staph infections, which could be deadly if you have a compromised immune system. But believe it or not, that was not the worst of it. Golobic says these two samples, both from card machines inside stores, have a surprising amount of fungus in them.
It has kind of taken over the whole plate.
That's probably the most disgusting sample we've looked at today. We're looking at them under this special hood so we don't breathe in any of the spores.
It can cause infection, and it's often bad.
And also mixed in there?
You can see some of it is fecal matters. Obviously, people haven't washed their hands appropriately.
Bottom line, when it comes to these card machines, remember, this is what's likely growing on them.
Know that people have touched everything that you are touching.
In Albuquerque, Megan Cruz, KOAT Action 7 News.
Well, now that you know the germs are there, open up your KOAT app to find out how easily they can transfer from one person to another and the best way to protect yourself.
Out of 200 Donald Trump protesters who showed up Saturday in Santa Fe, 3 found themselves in court today. Travis Barnes and Morgan Cook are facing minor charges for resisting arrest and being on the road. But Sergio Muterpearl is accused of a felony because investigators say while he was struggling with an officer, he caused a cop to fall down stairs. Muterpearl's attorney says he was unfairly targeted.
I was there. I was actually talking to Sergio as close as we are, actually even closer. And so I heard the police officer say, "Let's get them."
All 3 men are expected to be released on bond. Their next hearing has not been scheduled. Donald Trump is putting together a White House team that might upset those protesters all over again. It includes his future chief of staff and what is called a senior counselor. ABC's Maggie Rulli shows you who they are.
President-elect Donald Trump's under fire for picking this man, Stephen Bannon, as White House senior counselor. Bannon, a man of the right, loud and proud.
Don't believe the mainstream media.
Don't believe the establishment. Do not believe the permanent political class. We are on the right side of history.
Bannon is former chairman of the arch-conservative Breitbart News, and some say he's a bigot. The Southern Poverty Law Center claims Bannon simply has no business in the White House. The Anti-Defamation League calling him hostile to core American values. Team Trump says it's a bum rap.
I find him not to be the way that he's being accused. I find him to be the opposite.
I think Bannon has been the general of this campaign, and frankly, people should look at the full resume. He's got a Harvard business degree. He's a naval officer. He has success in entertainment. I don't know if you're aware of that, and he certainly was a Goldman Sachs managing partner. Brilliant tactician.
President-elect Trump did win some guarded praise from President Obama at his first news conference since the election.
I don't think he is ideological. I think ultimately he's pragmatic in that way, and that can serve him well.
But the president did not back down from his claims during the campaign that Trump was temperamentally unfit for his job.
There are going to be certain elements of his temperament that will not serve him well unless he recognizes them and corrects them.
And as they have for 6 straight days and nights, protesters took to the streets to denounce the election of Donald Trump. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, Washington.
Parents have mixed feelings about a letter APS sent out addressing the presidential election and calling schools a safe haven. The district said some kids and families were acting, quote, anxious and afraid, and that school staff were working to be mindful of students' feelings right now. After looking at that letter over the weekend, one father told us he thought it was a good move.
I think it's a really good thing for the APS to send out the paperwork and make sure the parents are aware of what's really going on with their kids at school.
But other parents said they believe the letter did more harm than good and made them even more worried.
Now, live Super Doppler 7 weather.
Well, we are in for some big swings in our